Hey, Gideon, buddy.
What's up?
What's up, my man? What's been
Today,
happening?
not
What's been
much.
happening? Tell me, tell me.
Today, not much. The
Not
last
much.
5 months, a lot.
Oh yeah, the last 5 months, yeah, for sure.
But today is a rainy day, so doing nothing.
A rainy day, what's that?
Just raining. It's raining
Oh,
outside.
of course, yeah. I keep forgetting. Like it's what is it coming into winter now?
Yeah. It's yeah. But also Galicia is actually very. It's raining often here. Um, but as you will see in any videos that will be put in here or that I will post the next couple of days, people will see how beautiful this area is. So, and that's why the reason why it is so beautiful is because it is raining a lot, makes it green and all that good stuff. So,
Fantastic,
yeah.
man. Well, look, let us go back to obviously the last time we spoke was it about a month ago or something?
So that was the must have been the 16th of October. Yeah.
Yep, about a month ago. And you
Yeah.
were just crossing, you were just on the, I think, if I remember correctly, when we spoke last time, after, like we spoke in the morning, your time, and you actually left and walked over the border to Spain from
Yeah.
France, from the Pyrenees or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Tell me, try and just run it chronologically, sort of roughly, what have you been doing since then? Because I remember you sent me a couple of photos later in the day when you had crossed over and you were up there. It's like snowy mountains and this crazy nice landscape.
Yeah.
Um, but tell me, how has the last part of the journey been?
Um, I think you can easily say it's been a very, very interesting culmination of everything you can think of. Like, I mean, to just give people who have not listened to this before a brief idea of why this all started was just because it makes so much. It is so. That is what I've been thinking about the most, actually, the last days. That moment that came to me that made me start walking. So for people who don't know, I was in a relationship that broke. I started walking for about a month, or I started just walking around my neighborhood, and around a month later, I got an epiphany in the ocean, at the ocean, that it was just like sort of this invisible whatever voice that just asked me, Gideon, why don't you walk from Santiago or from Denmark to Santiago? And I was like, that's interesting. That made me smile, and then I shared it with my parents, and when I shared it, it was like a body sensation of joy. Like it was the only thing. It just made me come alive, when I shared it. And 2 weeks later, I started. So that epiphany has been so clear that I've shared before that I felt pulled, to do this. I really felt like something else guided me or pulled in me or whatever it might be. And you can call that God or divine intervention or divine, whatever it might be, energy, it doesn't matter. But something pulled in me. And that is what has been so interesting to look back on, because throughout the trip, that is what has been made it easy in some sense, that something else just seemed to get me up in the morning, get me going. And even though, yes, I did it, but I did it through sort of this odd pull that just was so clear, so profound and whatever. And this, I conclude, like this last part of the journey obviously is a conclusion to everything, to this entire trip, but also like as a pilgrim, because this is the most famous path in the world probably that people have walked for thousands of years. And when you look at the state of the world right now, I was in the pilgrim office in Saint Jean Pied de Port the day before we talked. Or the 2 days before when I walked in, I had a day off before we talked, and they were sort of, they didn't believe that things would close up again or that it would be a problem, and all that good stuff. So I started just walking with a sense, okay, it's going to be okay. And it has been okay. It has been okay throughout the last 30 days. But what has been so interesting is that So Nevada is the area I was in when I walked into Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and where we talked, and when I walked towards the first 4 or 5 days. I was in the region of Nevada, which is in the Basque country. And for people who don't know, it's like an independent kind of country, I guess. They have their own flag and so on. But when I went to the next region, La Rioja, which is just the next region, they closed down the day I left. The day I walked out of the region, they officially closed.
What does closed mean?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I don't think many was really aware of what that really meant. But I think it was like the stores that were not, or the shops or businesses that were not, non-essential based companies.
Yep.
Stuff like that. But also it began to be sort of like that people could not start walking. So they could not start in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port or in Navarra. So that was a bit later, but the Pilgrim office closed. I forget. There's a lot of dates here that I need to be a bit more sure of, and perhaps should have prepared. But they're closed from now on until March. So that means you can't start walking now from where I started. Yeah, wow. The Pilgrim office. The Pilgrim office. I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know about the region itself, but
that's a long time. Before I even started
walking,
that's 4 months.
Yeah, and I don't really understand the reason for that. But I think before I started walking, or at least within a week into it, Burgos, the first main city we knew was closed. So you had to, the Pilgrim Association would provide buses for pilgrims to pass or whatever. But we didn't really know. We heard, all kinds of stuff. Nothing was consistent, like nothing. There was times where I called, the tourist office and had help from like Spanish friends that called, the regional offices or whatever to help. But there was very inconsistent answers about anything. So before we got to Burgos, it was closed. And I forget the date. I mean, it could have been a week before, 10 days before we got there. We just knew that Burgos was closed. But I walked out of La Rioja, the second region, and the region before Castilla y León and Burgos. So, and I walked out of that region, La Rioja, on the day that they closed, essential businesses and whatnot. But then Burgos opened up, before we entered, like a couple of days before, or whatever it might be, or there wasn't a problem anyway. So we walked in, and then and León was definitely closed. I think that was the city, the next city, like a week after that. We knew about that before going into or starting the journey, that it was closed. I knew that. So I was already planning on taking a different route and stuff. But that opened up too, like days before, I came. And France closed, like the borders of France closed, around the time when I was in Castilla y León, between Burgos and León,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you couldn't have, I couldn't have gone through France. Then when I went to Astorga, I know this is going to be a mess for people that doesn't know the chronological journey, but just to put this in perspective, then we can go back to some of it. Astorga was, it's called the chocolate city of Spain. It is famous for their chocolates, and that's sort of in the middle or a little bit past León, a few days after León, and in the big region of Castilla y León. So I knew I was in Astorga on Monday, I think, or maybe it was Tuesday, Monday, and we got to know that they would also close the region on Friday midnight, or like Thursday going into Friday at midnight. So normally you would take 4 days. There's in the Camino there's stages, so there's stages in the guidebooks and whatnot. So normally you would take 4 days to walk from Astorga to Osebredo, which is like a very mountainous area. But because of this lockdown, I was like, okay, I need to get out of here. Like not because it was such a big deal, because you could still walk, you could still go into the supermarket and stuff like that. So it was not like, it was not like I couldn't finish or keep walking. But I was just like, I'm not gonna deal with I don't want to walking this thing without being able to go to a restaurant or something, or at least that I just wanted to be in a more open region, I guess. So I did 3 days and 4 stages, meaning I did over 100 kilometers in 3 days instead of 4. Wow. And it was like the most mountainous place on the entire trip, and the hardest for sure. And that was going into Galicia, so the region I'm in now, and that was open. So that was, less. It has been less problematic throughout this whole trip.
So just to clarify, so when you're talking about regions, would that be the same as like states in Spain?
Yeah, I guess in some sense, yeah.
But so those regions, are they closing off as well? Like, do they have borders? Because, like, for instance, if we're looking at Australia, like each border here, have restrictions compared to the other states. Yeah. So would that be the same in Spain where you are? So
I think it's similar. Yeah, I think apparently they got power. The regions got their own power, so they can make their own decisions and not wait for. So they're governed individually. They would have their own premier, their own. Well, that was not so, and that's not been the case before. But because of this situation, they have been given the power to do so, apparently.
Or because of COVID.
I guess so.
Oh, wow.
That's all I know. Yeah.
Yep.
But my point about all this is that it has just seemed to be. It's unfathomable to me. Like and maybe it's not like when I'm very convinced that my epiphany that day told me, you need to walk, we need to walk now, and you need to do it the way it has been happening. That's why I've been pulled. Because if I had started walking 5 days later, 7 days later, taken a few days more in Paris or a few days off more somewhere, I would not have made it. It has been, I don't know the dates exactly, but it's within like 7 or 10 days max, in terms of France closing, Nevada closing, people who was on the trail that I've been in the Facebook groups of the Camino, where they started walking the north part. There's 2 trails north of where I have the French way that I've walked. One of them started, or there was one starting in the north one, and they got stopped and had to quit or take a bus further to the out of that region. So what has been crazy is just that it has really seemed, and I'm 100% convinced, based on this whole experience, that something guided me with 100% certainty, and I was always without issues.
Well, that again probably comes back to some of this. Like I can't remember if it was on your second or third chat, but when we had this conversation about just have faith in the process. Like everything will be okay. As long as you keep going, everything will be okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that might have been sort of the same thing here? Like that you have just been, because again, if you're going to shave off a day and walk, so if you're doing 100 kilometers in 3 days instead of 4, just because you say, look, I just have to do this, bang, I'm just going to plow ahead, I'm not going to risk anything. Do you feel like that might have been a part of that sort of mindset, or that mantra saying, I just got to do this, it'll be fine, I'm just going to plow through, I can do it, it's not a problem, just got to push forward?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just felt like that was the best to do. Yeah. I mean, those 4 days were amazing. Or those 3 days were amazing. Like from Astorga to Mola Seca was basically in between a mountain. So they were both in valleys. So I had to go up one mountain and down and then up another, I think. Or maybe I was up on a mountain and then a plateau, for a while. but it was a very long day. It was like 44 kilometers it took 12 hours for me to arrive. I woke up, I started walking at 7. Yeah, that was one of my longest days. And and I arrived at 7 at an albergue where there was no one but me. And that was one of the most beautiful and best days of my life. That was so amazing. Like first of all, I walked with a guy called Tom from Scotland, who was he's an amazing guy. And we bonded really well and we became friends. And we thought about this whole problem about things closing because we don't know. Like, it's so hard to get information. When you get the information from 3 different places, it's like not the same. So it's like, what can you believe, you know? And so we talked about really plowing through together and then, you know, get to the other side or get close to or into Galicia if it was meant to be, you know, if we had to hurry or whatever. Then, but we found out that it was not that problematic. Like, it was only certain businesses, and if it was albergues or places where you could stay that also had a restaurant or whatnot, they could be open and stuff. So it didn't seem that big of a problem. So he stopped halfway at a place he already had booked. So fine, I walked on. And what was beautiful about that day, I know we're kind of scrambling right now, but you went to this place called Cruz de Ferro, and that is a very, very, very special place on the Camino for some people, of course, but not everybody. But this is where I had totally forgotten about it. I mean, I kind of knew that it would come, but I totally forgotten about it walking from away from Tom there and onwards. And it was just down the street, basically, like down the, 2 kilometers or something. And all of a sudden it was there. And it's this very long stick or pole with a cross on top. And this is where people leave their burdens. It's people, they come from all over the world, and they carry a rock of some sort from their home, from whatever. And they have this rock to symbolize something they want to let go of, whatever it might be. And I had, you want to try and prepare for those things, because you want to make it a good moment and whatnot. And I totally had forgotten about it for some reason. And all of a sudden I just saw that place, and I became very emotional there, just because I love truth. This entire trip has been really about understanding this pilgrim spirit that I call it, and all that good stuff, and just knowing and seeing all these rocks and stones that has been put by people, where there's messages on, you can tell people have left their loved ones behind, and this rock symbolizes that they walk for them or whatever it might be. That is some powerful shit, man. When you, or at least for me, when you realize that so many have walked for just, first of all, letting go of their own stuff, but also just, that they have been walking for others, even though you can't really do that. You can only walk for yourself. Of course, you walk for others because you want to be connected to them. I mean, I've told all the pilgrims in those groups that I walk for them, because many can't because of the situation. So I've tried to do it that way. But it's just a very special place, very simple, and I forget what number video it is, but I call it the most beautiful day of my life on my channel. That was very emotional. And the entire day was just so beautiful. Like the weather was just perfect. One of those days where it's just no wind, sun, not too warm or too cold. It's just perfect. And it lasted for 12 hours. Just, and I made a good dent in getting closer to Galicia. So,
but so in regards to burdens and stuff, I feel like I kind of have to ask here, like, how have your burden been since you left? Because you've been, like, every time we've had a chat, it's been a very sort of different vibe or sort of different atmosphere. Like, you feel like you've grown a lot from when you left. Probably especially on the first 2 chats. Actually, when we spoke last time, you were very focused and very, like, it was all it's no longer a matter of if I'm going to complete it. It's a matter of when. Whereas when we spoke the first 2 times, everything was still very sort of emotional or a little bit blurry and a little bit sort of, I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing, why I'm doing it and all that. But did you feel when you got there to that big stick with the cross, did you feel like you could let go? I know you probably didn't have a rock, but could you let go of?
I did have a rock. No.
Could you let go of your burden? And if so, what was it?
The rock I carried was one from my childhood home, my parents' home, one that I found. And I did mention that in the video too, that I actually have not thought about that rock or this too much. But there's a lot of things that I think has kept me stuck. And I think it has. I mean, I think for most of us, it has something to do with family or whatever. But I definitely think that I have wanted to be independent, for a long time, and I think I have had a hard time allowing myself to be, not be attached to my parents or to old family bonds or issues or whatever. So I think that was how I used that moment to just really there's stuff, just something I don't need anymore from them, from my childhood home, also because I think my parents and me, even though we like each other and we are good together, we're also quite different. They think quite differently than me, and they know that, and I think we all know that. But I think I've been very attached to maybe pleasing others and pleasing maybe them, not because they want to have me do that anymore, but it was a pattern back in the day because of the religious stuff that I've gone through, or they have gone through as well, or come from. So I think it's been mostly about myself, and I also shared that with you. I think that this trip was really for me. I think I said that in the first video a lot, that this is for me. This trip is for me, and of course it's for a lot of other things, but I have to do it for me first. And even though I felt pulled and felt like it wasn't me as much or whatever, that I think
but it's really interesting. But it's really interesting to see you now especially compared to when we had the first chat, because you were in a very, very
recently.
different place. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched it recently, actually. A few days ago, I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
I definitely feel more confident in everything. And I still have to, and this is the next phase of this whole journey, and that's something to be taken serious, is that it is a process to process. When I have, the last weeks, I have thought about, the last months, and I'm like, what? I don't even understand it. I have not been able to comprehend that I have done this at all. I really haven't. It has been so crazy.
It is, man.
Yeah. And I really feel like when I walked in yesterday that it was as unreal as it was real. It was such a combo of things to be the last few days being so close and not understand any of it. It's really wild. It's really hard to explain.
How did emotion wise walking in? Because I remember you were talking about that 0.0 marker, and I know you have a photo, and we'll put the photo up here as well when this goes live. But when you walked in there, that's a finish line. That is you completing 5 months of being on the road. For people that listen to some of the previous episodes would know that you and I did a marathon last year in Perth. That's a 4 hour for me, it was about 5 hour run. Crossing the finish line there feels so good.
Yeah.
But that's 5 hours. You've done 4 months, man. So I would love to hear your thoughts on, or hear how that felt walking in to that. What's it called? Finisterre? Is that
Yeah, Finisterre is the Spanish word, and it's also called Fisterre. Like if you see, I have a picture of that, the sign, and I think Fisterre with an A in the end is Gaelic or like Galician.
Okay.
So yeah.
But so how was it, man? Like walking in there, you can see the finish line. Like I'm gonna go down and take the photo now. Like, how did that feel, man?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because I don't know if you saw the video of me walking into Santiago, but that felt powerful. Walking into Santiago felt powerful because there's, it is a main destination. That's what it really is. It really is the destination you walk for. So walking in there was really powerful. Like that was amazing.
I haven't. Let me also quickly just interrupt and say, look, no, I haven't. I deliberately didn't want to watch it because I wanted live. I wanted to get your feedback.
Yeah, definitely. But if people watch that, I mean, it is a bit different. I got a camera. I got somebody to video me as I walked in, so that was really cool. I didn't get to do it this time. I mean, I did a little bit so that people can get an idea of me walking towards or out there to Finisterre. So when you walk. So the journey from Santiago is that you walk 2 stages. The first is like around 20. The next day is a bit more than 30. And then you can split off to go to Muxia or to Finisterre. And if you go either way, you can then, because it's still, I guess it's west, but it's still like apart from each other, but like outwards. Mm-hmm. And then you can then walk between the two, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So you either walk to Muxia or you walk to Finisterre. That's sort of and Finisterre has been, I've been told that Muxia, people who are Christian or religious, they often end their trip in Muxia because there's a shrine, church, and so on. And the people who are spiritual or doesn't have like just has an alternative belief or whatever, or atheists or whatever it might be, that is Finisterre is more of a spiritual ending. But I really don't think people think too much about that, honestly.
Right.
Walking out when you walk into Finisterre, you walk through the town because you need to go 2.5 kilometers more out to the lighthouse. So you basically have to go back and forth between the lighthouse and the town to get to the marker. And first of all, when the weather is good, it's one of the most amazing places in the world. It's out in the lighthouse. There's rocks all around. It's a big, kind of harbor looking. What do you call the harbor with all the big rocks? The mole. In Denmark, in Danish, and it's mole.
Yeah.
It just looks like a huge one. It looks like a huge one. It's not. I don't think it's meant. I don't know if it's made. I don't think it's made. But it's just like big. It's high up, and you can definitely commit suicide. And if you walk out and you fall down, you'll just hit a bunch of rocks. Falling down to the. So it's up high, and it's there's amazing sunsets there. But yeah, you have to go out there 2.5, a bit more than 2.5 kilometers to get to the marker. And I got to say, it was sort of like, I was wondering, when I got there and, realized that I was there, and I don't know, it felt sort of different from walking into Santiago. It didn't feel as powerful in some sense.
Right.
But I felt at ease with it, or it was still kind of unreal. I didn't understand it. And I don't think I've calmed down really still. But it was really like, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm here now,
You are.
It was hard to express, other than I think that, I think my pictures shows well that I did it, that I really did it, and I'm so happy I didn't take a ferry, that day.
Oh yeah, and Glückstadt, I think it was.
Yeah. And all that good stuff, so it's part of the process, I think. I mean, I have been preparing myself for ending there. I've been there twice before. If I've never been there before, I think maybe it would have been different, but it has been a very unreal experience to know that I have walked this whole way, and I still don't get it when I say it. I don't get it at all. Like it's not coming through like in a way where I understand.
It is, but again, it's also one of those things that that so few people will be able to actually grasp the extent of that. I think I don't understand it either, but
yeah,
you have walked for 5 months.
Yeah.
Unless you have done that or done something very similar, you will never comprehend the actual the experience that you've done.
And maybe that is why.
Like about 2 hours ago, I was at an event in the city, at like a podcast event, talking to people, and some of them, I said to them, look, I'm gonna go back tonight. I'm gonna have a chat to this guy. I said, this is like the 4th or 5th time I'm talking to him. I said he's walked from Denmark down to Spain over the last 5 months, and he's been on the road walking for pretty much every day. 3,500 kilometers, and it's taken him 5 months. And people, like, when you say that to someone, they go like, come again? Like, what? Like, it's like, how is that possible? And it's like, and then at the same time, when you then continue that conversation, the next thing that sort of is the very obvious one is like your persistence and your mentality. Like, the fact is that there's no other way than forward. Like, you do, like, as you mentioned plenty of times on previous chats, like, there've been days where it's been pissing down, where it's been the worst day of your life and the best day of your life, but you just gotta keep going. And the whole metaphor of that, or I think the whole lesson of that, and obviously I can in no way say I've done anything remotely close to what you've done, but the thought of it, like the thought of the fact that you just gotta keep moving forward is as crystal clear as it can possibly be, because you've been moving forward since, what is it, the middle of June?
22nd.
And now you're here on the 18th of November. Bang.
Yeah, 149 days. It is actually almost exactly 3 months. It's because I think there's been 31 days or something, or 4 maybe. I don't know. But it's pretty crazy.
But so again, like you mentioned before that you were part of this Camino Facebook group and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna take a guess here. You're probably gonna be like a rock star in that society, because I don't think many people would have been doing that, like the trail to that extent.
No, I mean, there was actually been a couple who, I think there is one here one has walked from Zurich. I walked with one who walked from Paris. It's been a few on the trail actually that's been from a few other countries. So, but yeah, it's definitely not many who have done this. But even Zurich, like for people that aren't familiar with the geography, it's the capital of Switzerland, which is all the way down below Germany. So far, yeah. I think he has walked for a bit more than 2 months.
Yeah,
maybe. It is a big difference.
It's a massive difference.
But again, that's why this is so weird for me to try to explain that what happened on June 7th, I am pretty sure, because I worked with my friend Julian as a meditation teacher, and he's been really helpful and supportive during that time with the breakup and stuff, and we have been talking for 2 years by then, and I'm pretty sure it was that morning that I meditated for 3 hours in a row, almost 3 hours. And that is not recommended because then you get a lot of stuff coming through and maybe too much for you to handle it. But if that is the day that I did that, and I'm pretty sure it is, I'm not surprised in some sense that it could have happened, that something came through so clearly that said, okay, you might need to do this. But regardless, it feels so weird to talk about this as it's me making this decision because I don't really feel like it. That's what's so strange, that I feel like I had been pulled in such a way that I just needed to do this for whatever reason. And of course, I have done it. Of course, it's me. I did the steps, and when it was really hard, I felt it was me. I definitely did. But underneath everything, at the core of it, I just plowed through in a way that perhaps I wouldn't be able to otherwise. So that has also been so interesting when I look back at the timing of everything. Like the day before Mushia, it rained all day, pretty much all day. Then I walked to Mushia, the most beautiful day in the world. You can't, it's like if you had this day every day, you would feel like you were in paradise. And then walking around in this area was like, and then the next day, same. And today, rain. Yes, I could have waited. Yes, but I didn't. I've been sort of following the flow, and I don't know. And 2 days before 2 days after I came to Santiago, the cathedral would close. So I got in there for the Pilgrim's Mass, not because it's a big deal, but usually it was not a big experience this time, but usually it's a big experience because it's a nice, there's a lot of people and they do this ritual with flying, I forget the name of it, there's smoke in it and stuff. Doesn't matter. But that's a really cool experience when you have been walking and they bless the pilgrims and whatnot. So I'm not religious, of course, but it is a nice moment and a way to sort of conclude things. But the cathedral would close 2 days after I arrived, So, again, I'm like, okay. It's just weird.
It's like you're just constantly staying ahead, like that tiny bit ahead. Yeah.
And like the whole, they actually did say that people who started in Castilla y León, the main region where both Burgos and León is, that would, if you had started there before the 30th of October, you could finish the walk. So, I mean, of course, that could have changed now. I don't know what the difference is now, but at least around that time, they.
So why is a certain restrictions, a certain like deviations to the normal rules for people walking, as opposed to anyone in standard lockdown or standard isolation or whatever it is, like whatever the restrictions are at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's both because it's international people and they can't hold international people prisoners in the region.
Ah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
I would think. And then there is a very high respect for pilgrims in this trail. You are holy when you walk this thing. I mean, you are being respected in a way that is very different from if you walk somewhere else in the world. And that is also why it's special. People respect you. People come into when you come into the towns, people respect you. They know what you're doing. Maybe not why you're doing it, but they know of it. They understand what the Camino is, and what the Camino is. It's part of the history. It's part of Spain. It's part of this thing. And that's also why you feel welcome everywhere. When you walk here, it's just beautiful, You feel welcome. You feel you're part of something special and part of history and part of a lot of good things. And you're not being judged. So that is definitely part of why it is special to walk here.
And again, yeah, I remember you had a couple of episodes in some of the previous chats that we've had, which again I highly recommend people if anyone is sort of tuning in on this one and they do want to hear a bit more about what you've done, they should go back and start at the first one and then skip forward there. But my whole point was that you've had a couple of previous encounters with people that have been sort of like extremely open and taking you in and, you know, giving you free vegetables and free food and shelter and all that stuff. And, do you think that is something that they do specifically because you are a pilgrim, or do you think that is just the mentality of people in those regions that you've been passing through?
Yeah, it's a really good question. When I walked from, it must have been after tour, I think. Or I forget exactly if it's early on our tour right now, but I met Marie who walked from Paris, and so it must have been early on, I don't know. But after we have walked for 3 days together and we, you know, bonded as we do when we are pilgrims or whatever it is, I started to really question myself, why is this? Why is it? And I think we talked about this last time as well. There was one time also in Germany where, because I use churches once in a while, because churches is, you know, on the path. That's part of the pilgrim trail, is that you walk by all the churches and cathedrals and important religious points, because that's how it was back in the day, you know. But that particular day, there was no one to answer the phone, but the door into the church room or whatever, or the church, you know, the building that they have as part of the church was open. So I walked up and there was 2 nice beds and it was all made ready for a pilgrim. So apparently that was just to welcome you, you know, there was no one there. I just, you know, donated whatever I could and I had a room, really nice little room for myself. And then of course, yeah, as you mentioned, there was these few experiences, one in Belgium where I got, picked up by this guy that just seemed to be, okay, you're just gonna come with me. Okay, fair enough. You know, in the rain, the last call, the last option I had, and unless I would have stayed the whole night in a bus stop.
But did he know? But did he know that you were a pilgrim, or could he just see? Okay.
Yeah. And but it's a good question. I mean, there's just a respect and a trust about it. And when I've asked myself this question many times, you know, especially in the France, southern France area, I just got to the conclusion that the pilgrim spirit that I love and that I live for is based on truth and trust. It's based on that you trust someone. And because you trust, you feel safe, and then you share your truth with them. And then you can say, yeah, love is the best in the world and love is the most important. Yeah, but love comes out of that. Love comes out of that safety, out of that trust, out of sharing your truth. And who do you find that you so fast open up to? Like, I have not met that many people in my life, at least besides pilgrims, where you meet and within 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you talk about the deepest things. Like, it feels so safe, and that's what I love about it. There's just this core of trust, this core of bonding. You know, in Mushia, a good what do you say, explanation or a proof answer to that. I went to Mushia, and a really nice guy, Roberto, who was 2 days ahead of me. He did some longer days so I could catch him. But we met, I don't know, what is that, 10, 14 days before, a few days before Burgas, I think. So that was 20 some days ago now. We bonded well. Like, it was one of those, often you just bond well, you talk, and we just became friends, like within an instant. And we talked for 2 hours. I think maybe like around that time. And then we met in a monastery where a lot of pilgrims stayed, you know, some days later. And then we haven't seen each other since, but we kept in touch, you know, just to see where each other were, and, you know, is there an albergue here and there and whatnot, just information. Then he wrote me a message as I was going to Mushia to where to stay and where to eat, just to recommend me some good stuff, good places, or what to do, because he thought I was going to go straight to Finisterre. But I surprised him, obviously, or guess what? I'm heading your way, So we got a chance to meet again. And it was just the most magical, beautiful day. I mean, I really hope that when people watch this video that I'm editing right now for the trip to Moshia, that people can understand why I love this area so much. It is just remarkably beautiful. You walk through the most prettiest forest. You walk in silence. There's no really cars, highways. The grass is green. There's animals everywhere. It's just magical. And then we walk out to the ocean. You walk out to the ocean in both Moshia and Finisterre. And Moshia, there's this shrine, a really beautiful area where there's churches and there's a big knoll where you can see the sunset from. I had checked in and spent a couple of hours at my hostel. And then I went to see Roberto up. He was already up there at the look there, and we when we saw each other, we both cried. We were just so happy for each other, so happy that we and it was just so beautiful. We could just sense I'm not a homosexual, but there was just such a pure love between us, like in human to human. And it was so beautiful to experience that. He finished his Camino, by heading to Moshia, because he was in Finisterre first, and I got there, and we were so happy that we got to see each other again, and it was just, it was just so beautiful, and we saw the most beautiful sunset you can think of, I'll send you that picture of me and him. He was just such a great guy, and that is what I love. If there's something I love, you can think of this. Of course, you want those relationships with your friends. You want those bonds with your friends and your family, but for some reason, that bond is just very different with on this trail.
Because it's as pure as it gets. Like you're there for the same reason. Like you share that same journey. You don't. I suppose you can both still bring your baggage or bring your burdens, but that becomes irrelevant in these situations. And look, I really like what you were saying about how when you do connect, when you do meet up with other pilgrims, and you are there, like you obviously like you are there as it's like a brother and a sisterhood almost. Like you almost become family as you're traveling. But it's still like I'm still super amazed by the hospitality of these other people, that are taking you in and helping you out, because they may or may not be pilgrims or be like, so they like I'm just like I actually might even think that they might just do that to people, because like obviously they could see that there was someone sitting there on that video. So I have watched the video that where you're sitting there and you're filming yourself and you just look up and go, oh, hang on, what's happening here? And this guy comes over and it's quite obvious that he would obviously have seen that you're sitting there. It's 10 o'clock at night or whatever the time was, and it's pouring down, and like this guy looks like he needs some help, man. He's not in a good spot. So do you think that they would have done that to anyone, or because obviously like he would not know that you were, I'm guessing though that he would not know you're a pilgrim, because if people see you walk around with your stuff, you're wearing your cap and stuff. It's not like, you have a big sign saying, hey, I'm a pilgrim or anything, What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in that situation, of course he called somebody, because I told him I was pilgrim, and he knew that the guy he called, they took in pilgrims once in a while. Okay. So I know that part of it, at least I ended up there at that house because I was pilgrim. I don't know if he would have, I think he would have done something. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't have stayed there, but maybe if I wasn't a pilgrim, maybe not. I don't know. But I definitely feel that there is definitely some kind of respect for
100%. You know, and they would probably also see people a lot. You know, like see people walking through the town for the same reason, for the same journey.
Yeah, I mean that was Belgium and France, or Belgium that one night there, and I doubt that many walks through there. I don't know, but I doubt that it's that many. But the different gestures that you get, especially the woman that was a handful of days before Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, I think, that gave me fruits and vegetables and stuff. I think she really did it out of I needed it, or that she just wanted to give me something, you know, because I was looking to buy something anyway. So she just, you know, with respect, and what I did, she wanted to just give me that. So there's definitely some kind of, wanting to assist, wanting to help, because you're doing it for a higher purpose. You're not selfish, even though it looks very selfish to walk alone, because you're by yourself. It is not selfish in that sense. It is very much doing it for a higher purpose, whatever that might be, walking towards something better, more, you know. So I think that's, people just intrinsically know that. I think, you know, also because it's so biological in terms of like how we got around for millennia, you know. We walked, you know, that's all we could do.
Yeah.
So, That's also, it's interesting how different it is walking into, especially if it's, you know, bigger towns or towns where they might not see pilgrims that often, or, you know, they look at you differently. They're like, who's this guy? You know, when you walk, you know, with a backpack on and you walk through the town, and I both saw this in Denmark and anywhere, you know, that, they look at you differently, with respect, with kind of a, you know, interest, curiousness. So that's kind of funny, interesting.
But again, it like, what do people say when you say that you walked from friggin' Denmark to Spain?
Yeah,
because
no. I mean, I don't even understand it. I mean, the people usually they do this. I mean, they really drop their jar, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. It's very different from what people understand. Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. It's a very simple answer, but
so what? So I suppose an obvious question. I'm sort of trying to hold it back for a little bit here, but an obvious question is, what happens now? Like,
it's a good question.
Now you're here. No, it's a very obvious one. So it's like, you're at the finish line now. You're like, you've crossed over. You're sitting down. You know, you've booked yourself a little room now. You know, we're having this chat now. Like you've done it. Like you're obviously still there. So, but where do you go from here? Like, what's the next? Are you going to walk back, or like what's the next step? Are you going to stay there? Are you going to keep going? What's next?
I mean, the beautiful thing about the current situation in the world is that pilgrims here, they stay a bit longer than usual, because they just either don't feel like just going back because for the reasons that we know, or they're looking at what to do. So they need time to process. A lot more people than I've ever heard is talking about going to Portugal, because that's how you can move on or walk further. You know, it's sort of an obvious walk to do because it's connected to Santiago, and I've done the opposite way, of course, but you can walk down to Portugal, and some people have talked about doing that along the trail, and especially here. So I will sort of listen to those, and to those who are thinking about it, and then see what they are doing. And if they are doing, I might not go right away if I feel like that's what I want to do, but just maybe keep in touch with them just to see. It should be a similar situation in Portugal as it is in Spain, so it would be okay as far as I understand it now.
How much further is that?
I think from Santiago down to the border, I think it's just a couple of days. It's not long.
Oh, but all the way to, but the whole extent of that extra leg of the trip.
Yeah, Lisbon would be the main city's main south city. But if I walked, I would go all the way down to the corner, to the Algarve coast. That would be my end.
And how long is that?
My goal. Yeah, I mean, my guess is like 800, 900 maybe.
So another month and a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't checked, but from Lisbon to Santiago, it was only 600, I think. So, but yeah, I haven't decided anything. It's very important for me to process this, and I still know a French guy that I walked with. He's coming in tomorrow. So I'd like to have dinner with him. There's people who staying here, a day more or a few days more. And at the albergue I was in last night, we all had dinner together, there was music and guitar and whatnot. And so it's also a time to really appreciate. The next day is going to be good weather. So I want to head out to the lighthouse probably every day and see the sunset, and then, obviously, say again?
I was about to say, it's called a pier, by the way, when you were talking about a mole before.
Pier. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a pier, but it definitely could look like a huge one, I guess.
Yeah.
But maybe it is. It's a lighthouse. So, yeah. But anyways, pier. So I think it's also a time to enjoy, and I also understand or know that I have to take this time after seriously. I really have to process this in a way where I feel like, okay, I need to somehow process it, and I'll do that through writing. I'll probably do more videos, just express whatever is going on. But it's very important to not just jump into something completely different all of a sudden. That's a very bad decision.
Tell me a bit more about that, about how you're sort of planning on processing the whole thing now.
Obviously, I don't know for sure, but besides all the content that I've produced over the last 5 months, which is quite crazy, that is, first of all, memories for life, but it's also content and memories that I can look back on and it's like proofs. But it's also, I've talked about a lot of the things that I would definitely like to, when we talk about truth and trust and talk about those things and all the insights that I've gotten and all the timing and all the things that is, I guess, part of me now, that's something I want to express in writing. And we've talked about, yes, I need to write another book. It is something that I have thought about a lot the last month, or at least more, is that I know that there is a book waiting for me to be written.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a really, really good one, because now I can begin to wrap my head around how I would write that, or how. So I think part of the process for me now is to actually get some kind of frame on the book, but also a frame of myself, the experience, and this whole thing up to my life at this point, and so I kind of just get a frame around it so that I can begin to sort of gain an understanding of how to express my experience, because not only it's my life, that's one thing, it's a big thing, of course. Then there's the journey itself, that's another big thing. Then there's also all the insights, but then there's also a lot of the things that I will love to express and share with people, because I understand now that this walking thing, it will help you. I think one of the most amazing things about this is that we live in a very, to some degree, very codependent society. We live in a where we are very dependent on, or very easily we can become dependent on other people or the system or the whatever, I also think that that's a lot of why, and we can also always debate on, because the situation is very weird now compared to just a year or two ago, but people who, the last years, they have become self-employed, many more than normal, like, or back in the day, because of computers, because of, you can do work online and all that good stuff. But when you begin to, I have realized that when we have issues, when we have problems, a lot of people, they go to a therapist, they go to a psychologist, they want to talk to somebody for them to help them. And yes, I think it's important. Yes, I think it can be valuable. But it's actually very, very powerful to understand that you have what it takes to help yourself and to heal already inside yourself. And the thing that I have come very clear about is that walking is so, we all know how good walking is for us. Taking a walk 30 minutes, clear your head, an hour. And of course, yes, weeks and months is a different story, but that can only make it better. When what I realized in simple terms is that when you take the steps, when you just walk, just walk, that's all you need to do. The body, mind, and spirit, the universal power, the universe energy, whatever it might be, that will do the work for you. As long as you do the work in terms of taking the steps, the process that needs to happen or come through you will happen by itself. You cannot hide when you walk. You cannot hide your darkness. You cannot hide your shadows. It will come through. It's 100%. You can't hide that. So I think I have I found out that this is my passion. Like, one of my main passions is adventure, long walking, just because it's so beautiful. Like, it's just, I love it. There's so much to, of course there has to be some kind of purpose and all this good stuff, but it is really one of the most beautiful things that I can think of and that can help you the most that I've experienced. And I just think I would like to be able to be that guy that can help in that area. And I know I can do that now because I've done the work. I've done what I needed to do to at least be in a position where I can help and share and express.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What is it that you that you want to help people with then?
I think the outcome. Or the related answer is that people who to understand that you can take responsibility for yourself. When you walk far, you cannot hide from all this dark stuff that it might be your issues or whatever it might be. So walking makes you experience that. It makes you experience the darkness because it comes through as emotions. It comes through this process of whatever it is that is happening, and realizing that we can actually solve our issues, or we can heal more, or we can do that by ourselves, with ourselves. That is very powerful because then we become less dependent on others to help us. And it's not because we don't need others sometimes to talk to or share and all that good stuff. Nothing is absolute, but it gives you an experience that you can actually help yourself. And I think that is very powerful. But it's also a very subtle process. It takes time. And if we compare it to our society, walking is not part of our society in the sense of that, because everything has to happen so fast. I mean, now it's different, of course, a little bit different, but you know what I mean. But
I think, like, obviously, like when you're looking at the world as a whole, like there's so many different scenarios and layouts for how people live. But if you look at all the capital cities, where you have such a high density of people, it becomes almost impossible to have a sort of like a similar experience to what you've had, because you've been out in nature so much and been so close to everything for so long as well. So really, if you have to do something even close to what you've done, you really need to either travel, and you probably need to take a couple of weeks off, like to just get sort of like a taste of the experience. So how do you think that would, or how would you sell, if you can, how would you sell that experience to someone? Say that this is what you need. You need to let go of your burden or darkness or whatever it is that you want to get rid of. And this is what you need to do. You need to, you don't need to walk from Denmark to Spain, but you can walk from Spain to Portugal or whatever it is. You know, like you can do like a smaller segment of that trip. And this is what you do. I'll show you.
Yeah. I think it would be hard for me to say that you need to do walking and you need to do this far and then you'll get this result. I think it's very unique, of course. And
definitely. It'll be a personal experience, personal choice.
Yeah. But I think I can share a lot of things that will inspire people to do it for themselves. That's what I hope.
I think that's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we talked I was going into Paris, I think you must have been. Yeah. Or maybe it was last time, but taking all the steps will always make you arrive. And it sounds so simple and obvious, and it is obvious.
Yep.
But it's not obvious in our society. It's not obvious in our society because you want to do it fast. You're impatient. You want to make $1 million now. All this bullshit. You need to take the steps, because if you don't take the steps, you will not learn what you need to learn. And that is very. I mean, when I look at, like, now I'm thinking about, okay, a book, and it's going to be a comprehensive one. I know that's going to be the book that I probably will write in my life. I mean, that's going to take some work, but that will also take a lot of steps, regardless of how you see steps.
Of course.
I mean, word by word, thought by thought, and that will take time. But I'm motivated by that because I know that I can already do that. Like, the foundation for it, I can already do. So of course it's maybe a new thing because the book I wrote many years ago was it was a new experience, all that good stuff. But this one, I mean, that's going to be a different level. And of course I have 10 years in between almost. But the whole idea of that, you can arrive when you take all the steps, that's really powerful. I really like that. And I think that having that ingrained in me to some extent, that's really special. So
and not just that, but also the fact that you've also documented it. Like, you've done a video episode pretty much every day.
Every day
for the whole trip.
I mean, maybe sometimes
you did a double
one day. Yeah. Because some days were a little bit too long, or
but
whatever.
You've documented, but you've documented stuff. Like, you've got footage from every single day.
Yes, every day.
Yeah. That is such a dedication, man. Devotion.
Yeah. I think I have wanted. The reason why maybe it has been part of my trip is also that I've been looking for something to share. There's been a lot of times, when I was in Spain, I did a lot of videos, but I've only shared when there was something. I think I forced that too, for myself. I wanted to be a YouTuber or whatever you want to call that, but I can't do it without a purpose. I need to share something that makes sense, or has a purpose, or has a inspiration, or has something worth sharing, really. I can't just share bullshit just to get views. It has to be something that has a value.
But at the same time, being a YouTuber, or like an influencer, or whatever you want, like, again, it has to be you. Like, it has to be it has to be real. And obviously, like, I'm guessing here, I don't think you're doing this to get views or to get subscribers. No. You're doing this because you fucking have to. Like, this is just something you just need to do. Like, it's a valve. You just gotta open and let all the steam out. And then, you close that down. You, as you said, like, you process that. Then you find something else to do whenever the time is right. But on that note, though, it's interesting also, as you've mentioned a couple of times before as well, to see how that has grown organically as you move forward, which, of course, same as anything else, that's a process too. Of course, it's only going to grow because you are moving forward. You're meeting new people. You have this Facebook group, which I'd love to hear more about, actually, just to see how the whole online community, because that's a very different part, that, being out on the road and walking and, seeing all the, the cows and animals that you've seen along the way. And then to come back and sort of disconnect from reality and go back online and plug into the matrix, and you have all these people sort of sharing all the stories and stuff. But how has that been? Like, how's the pilgrim community online on Facebook? And also, is there any other social media platforms that you guys utilize? You guys meaning pilgrims.
The groups that I've used is communal groups. I think there's 2 and 1 in Denmark. And it is basically, just people sharing, either they have questions about it or they, about what to do or what to wear or when to go or just very simple stuff. But I began to use it. I mean, I think it was both to share what I did. I mean, of course, I'm not 100% perfect, and I also did it for a reason, because I wanted to promote myself a bit. But when that is said, I also did it because, I mean, at least when I began to realize, okay, I need to also take some kind of responsibility for the privilege that I'm actually able to walk. When I walked out of La Rioja, the second region, going into Castilla y León, I began to realize that not many will be able to walk, if any, this year. Like, not many has walked at all this year, because everything was locked for, I don't know, from somewhere in March to, I don't know, July or something.
Yes, months,
and so not many have walked this trip, and hundreds and thousands of people are usually walking here. I've been in a group of very few. There's been 100, maybe it's some thousands that has finished, and I began to really see that, okay, I need to appreciate that, but also share with all these thousands of people who would love to walk where I'm walking right now, and say that I'm walking for you guys. That has been special too, to actually be able to just give that gesture to that community, to say, okay, I'm motivated because I'm here for you as well. And of course, it's been a longer journey, but it is a privilege because so many wants to be here, and no one really can right now. So.
And how is that received?
No, really well. It's just that whole community is so interesting. You really feel like you have such a huge family, and so many people that are your family or close friends, and you don't really know many of them until you meet them. So that has been very special, and I'm moving into a state where I feel I have so much experience that I can begin to really use that, and that is really nice. I think that's also something I've been looking for in my life. I think we talked about that one of the first times that, or at least my issue has been in my life that I felt I needed to have something to complete me, like some people have an education, so they have a skill, of some sort and whatnot. But I didn't really feel I had that. Because I didn't have an education, I didn't really have, or maybe it was just lack of confidence or lack of something, or just lack of, okay, what is my passion? What is actually what I want to do? What is, my drive? And I found it here. I found it finally as one of the main things that walking is one of the things that defines me. And it actually defined me before I started walking, which is kind of interesting. My logo, Journey Navigator, my book, Your Unique Journey, and so on, came before I walked, because I had a fascination for this road that didn't end, but we all, on this metaphorical idea that we all are on a unique journey in life, but that walking it, living it, that is special, that is magical. And I really find it interesting, but also very special that has come together in such a way. And that, I think, combined with all the things that I'm trying to wrap my head around, that is the culmination of both my life, the situation in the world right now, all the insights that I've gotten, and the outcomes that will come. Those culminations are just so. It's really hard to describe or understand how all of this has come together the way it has right now. It is really crazy. Yeah, it is so crazy. It really is.
But the cool thing about doing what you've done is, like, again, you set yourself out on this journey, not entirely sure of what's going to be on the other side, or how how the path in front is gonna evolve or pan out. But there, like, the good thing is, again, and we spoke about this earlier, like, as long as you have faith that everything will be okay, then everything will be okay, because there's something is going to come from it that's not going to be a detriment or have a negative impact on something, because you're doing this because you want to move forward. Like, you're looking for something, but you're not entirely sure what it is. And when you throw yourself out on the deep end, you eventually you learn to swim, or you drown. Like, it's either or. And even though, like, I remember some of the previous chats that we've had, you said you had some really dark times as well on the time, and like you really had some moments that you need to process, but you didn't drown. Like you kept swimming, you kept moving, you kept plowing ahead. And when you do that, and when you have that sort of persistency, it's so awesome to see the opportunities that come from it. Things that you would never have known 5 months ago when you started. And now you're here. And your journey, I don't think your journey is done yet, because obviously you need to process this, and then you got to find out, are you going to stay? Are you going to jump on, walking down to Portugal? Are you going to fucking walk to, I don't know, somewhere else? Like, there's so many roads ahead. And I understand with the whole COVID situation. Yeah, there might be some restrictions somewhere, but that's fine, because everything will be okay. I'm going to keep moving forward, whether that's going somewhere else, whether that's staying in fucking Spain for 6 months and writing a book or something. Like, you just don't know, but it'll be okay.
That's, I like hearing that. Yeah, definitely. I would say that the first 2 months were very tough. They were very tough. I mean, and I'm not saying that because there was not something good, but that was definitely the toughest time. The time after Paris. And I got to say that I also had a period where I really was like, because I have not seen the way the world is right now with the most, I mean, I don't think no one really likes what's happening to some degree, regardless of how you look at it. But I have also seen it, is this really the end? Like, in the sense that is it really just getting worse and worse and worse? Will it ever, will it ever change? And I really also saw this journey as, okay, this might be the last one. This might be the very last one. So both in terms of my journey itself, but also on this planet, I have been in that dark of a place where I saw, okay, I'm not going to live here anymore if this continues, so it has been that dark as well.
But yeah, it is, like, again, it's just one of those things that it's just outside our control. It's outside our reach. Anything, like, whatever the outcome will be after I don't know if you can say after this is all done, because we don't know when and if it's going to be done and what have you. But because it's outside our control, it's so important to just stay focused on what you can control. And in your case, it's, enjoying all these awesome memories, write a book, hang out with your friends. The world is not going anywhere. Like, like, we've only been here for a couple of, I don't know, 100,000 or a million years or whatever it is. But, the world has been here for, hundreds of millions of years, billions, for, I don't know, man. But my point is, this is just it's a grain of sand at the beach. And whatever's going to come on the other side will be okay too. It's, I just think when you have these dark moments, or when you think everything is fucked, because it is. And look, sometimes I'm sitting here and, I miss my family and my friends back home and stuff, but it's just one of those moments where you just got to say, look, there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing at all you can do about it. So, and it's not because the world is after you or me, or anybody else, because everybody is in the same situation. And you just gotta focus on the road ahead. Like, what is ahead of you? What can you do?
Yeah. And that's really a good metaphor for walking anyway. That's how it's been.
Exactly.
Literally, that's literally how it's been. I've been in connections, in contact with a Galician journalist from this region to just stay updated on what was happening, just to make sure that I knew. And I have been a bit worried often. Can I finish? Am I able to finish if they lock down this place? And I was ready. Like, if they said, okay, you have 2 days to get to Finisterre, and I was 500 kilometers away, I would have just started walking. I wouldn't care.
Of course.
I wouldn't care at all. I was already mentally prepared. Okay, I might have to do something really crazy if something happens. So I have been worried quite a lot, actually. And for some reason,
that's valid. That's valid. That's also something that you can control, because you can control. Okay, I'm just going to walk 100 kilometers.
Yes. So that part of it, yes, and also the realization that is actually only what I can do. I wish I had control to just flip the switch and say, okay, we all good now. But all I can do is do what I do, and in this case, it was walking. And for the greater good, I mean, some people, they're protesting, some people are whatever. All I want to do is become a better man, and a bit more peace inside. And I think that will do, good for the world. So that's my that's my contribution, kind of, and make you see that you can do something that is much bigger than you can understand. And I think that is actually part of what I mentioned before with my hole, or my lack of education, or whatever it has been in comparison to others, that I needed maybe to experience something to such a degree that I have a foundation, or have a I don't know, whatever it is that makes me able to express that's who I am, or what I love, or that that kind of confidence. So yeah. So, yeah,
dude, but again, like, talking about education, like, dude, you have so much more education on life than probably 99% of people on this planet. Like,
yeah, but I think I think I get that, but I think I've been sort of.
It's a very different mindset. It's a very different approach to it, man. And
yeah, but I also what I think I mean is that I really wanted to do what I love for many years. Since we worked together, since before when I moved out of my parents' place, I always looking. I mean, first it was money and business and whatnot, but I always wanted to be self-employed. But of course, I wanted to do what I love. But I've always asked myself a question: what the hell do I love to do? I've always asked myself that question. I remember when I was sitting, when I was small, and we had a poster with the soccer player or whatever, and I knew that he loved what he was doing, but I didn't know, and I think it's been a habit with me that I haven't really known what I really love to do, other than I wanted to be free or have no restraints, or whatever. But this just all makes sense to me. Like, I love everything about walking, or the Camino, especially the Camino, I think, and that whole energy and the bond and the everything about it. I love everything about it. It's just so I think I found. Not that I didn't love it before, but I became what I wanted to be, like, right now,
But so that again comes down to a lot of, like, the question about identity. So again, if you really identify with this community, or this pilgrim spirit, how are you going to be letting go of that? Because effectively, I'm assuming here, if you need to move and go somewhere else, do something else, would you still consider yourself a pilgrim if you're not walking anymore? How does that work?
Yeah. I think in terms of, when you have walked the Camino and you have had this experience, I think you will always understand what that means, but you have to do it before you understand. So I think that everybody who has done it or has that experience, yes, I think there will always be pilgrims to and that, yes, I would consider myself one, even though I wouldn't be on the trail. But I am thinking seriously about wanting to do this kind of a thing once or twice a year. Like I would really love to be sponsored by like a brand like Solomon, the shoes I wear. I mean, I love all their stuff. I mean, they really make great gear. And yeah, if I could do this once or twice a year, promote their brand or their gear or whatever,
I would almost, obviously I'm not an expert here, but I would almost guarantee you for them to give you a pair of shoes or 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, if you want to walk, a couple of, 1,000 kilometers or something and do a video every single day talking about this, and have a video that's been posted on a big forum, and obviously you have a growing YouTube channel, for them to give you a pair of shoes, why wouldn't they? Have you asked them?
No, I will. My goal is to write them an extensive email about my journey and also feedback on their 3 pairs of shoes, because the second pair definitely sucks balls. But that is so weird. The difference between we're losing connection here. The difference between my first pair and the second or the third pair that's the same. The only difference is the Gore-Tex. So the model itself is the same. But I am sure. I mean, when I look at the bottom of my shoe right now, I can walk 2,000 kilometers in that model. But they look fine. But the middle, the one I used from Paris, after 600 kilometers, the heel was just gone. So I mean, that's not worthwhile. So I mean, stuff like that. Who knows? But
that's actually super interesting to hear. Because I had a chat to I don't know if you saw that one with I had a chat to a guy from Australia who walked across Australia, walked from Bunbury in Western Australia to Sydney in New South Wales, and he was the same. Like he said, look, I want to do this again. I want to walk back. I want to walk from north to south of New Zealand, and I'm gonna go and I want to try and reach out and try and get a couple of sponsors and stuff. And it's like, of course, it makes perfect sense. And why wouldn't they sponsor something so cool and so extraordinary? Because it's not gonna bring any damage to the brand whatsoever. In fact, it's only gonna give them far more credibility. They're gonna sponsor someone like yourself or someone like him again. He was raising awareness for suicide prevention and mental health. And like, again, especially when you're documenting your trip so comprehensive as you're putting up a video every day, man, and like talking about all this stuff, you're posting stuff on your Facebook page, and like it's a lot of goodwill, it's a lot of free marketing and genuine marketing as well, because you'll become like a perfect ambassador. And we're not talking a high ticket item. It's not like you're asking for a freaking Ferrari or anything. Like, it's a pair of shoes.
Yeah,
and a backpack and whatever else you need, a tent or whatever gear is necessary to do this trip.
Yeah, it could be gear, but it could also be like the walks could then. I mean, if I could get some kind of sponsorship so that the trip would be free or whatever, then I could begin to have a purpose in terms of raising money or raising awareness about some stuff, walking through that particular country or walking through other places, And I think that could be really interesting. So I mean, and there's not many walks that would be this long. So I know I would be able to do 1,000 or 2,000, and I would be able to go through most countries, So that would be interesting. I think that would be really cool, because then I could focus on, just like we tried to do actually with the marathon, like a local charity that was in Perth, right? But if it was a country or like whatever it might be, just something related to
whatever it is.
Whatever.
Yeah. As long as it feels right, and again, as long as it's fun, as long as it's true, and as long as it's you, man. Like that's the main part. As long as it's something you want to, something that feels right.
Yeah.
Because then again, it'll sort itself out. It'll be okay. But dude, man, look, super stoked. I'm so impressed, man, by the fact. I'm so humbled too to have been a part of this and to see your growth, man. From like when we spoke the first time to now, it's literally two different people.
Yeah, I feel a big difference. I mean, interestingly enough, I felt like today and yesterday I felt very, very tense in my stomach, which is, I'm sort of wondering what the heck that is. But I definitely feel that I've just done something that I've been pulled in a way maybe the universe has told me, Gideon, you need to do what you love to do. Now this is the way. You know, like this is, Gideon, you gotta give up give up trying to walk in circles. You gotta do what you love to do right now. And I don't care how long you have to go to freaking understand that, but that's to the end of the world or something, you know. It kind of makes sense that that's what the universe said, because I've been circling a lot that last many years. So it is finally really comfortable to understand that I love this kind of adventure life or whatever, and then it can be used for something now, you know. And I think that's the beauty of it, that I can begin to. I can have lectures sharing just simple stuff about what you need, you know, what you need to bring, what you need to think about, all these very simple things to the very meta things about, you know, philosophy or the whatever it might be, you know. So I think there's a lot to it. So I just really am grateful for everything that has happened, and it's been really helpful to be able to express it with you. And
it's been a pleasure, man.
During it's been important because I haven't had many chances to share to this extent, because it's also important that it's someone comfortable, you know. I mean, I can say anything to you, so it's been different than if it was it's been long conversations. I think that's the key. It's been good. It's been really good to express and share the change and the it's been up and down and everything. So
well, we're not done, man. We're not done. I wanna hear the next chapter as well. So we should definitely definitely have another chat in a couple of weeks whenever you sort of come to the resolution, whether it is walking down to Portugal, then obviously it's we can add another country to the list, or whether it is the fact that, you know, you're gonna come and tell me that you're halfway through your book, or you've got a couple of cool sponsors or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So I look forward to. I mean, the next 7 days are going to be really important. It's found a really good room here, and. So is that where you're going to stay?
Yeah, I'll stay here for a week at least, in Finisterre, and then apparently the next days are going to be sunny and so on. So I actually need to get a diploma in Santiago for the. Maybe I can just share a little bit about that kind of stuff, just so people know that when
let's finish it off, and try and tell us a bit about the passports.
Yeah, so maybe I should share it. One sec.
Get the passports. It's one of the craziest things, man. All the insane amount of stamps.
Sorry.
Didn't you have to get multiple passports because you got that many stamps?
Yes. Well, I got 2 from home, or I had 2 from home, and then I got an additional one in Santiago and Finisterre, so
that is so
like,
cool, man.
So I have 3. So this is like, I don't know if you can see this at all.
Oh yeah, how many stamps is there, man?
Yeah, a lot.
So this would be like the equivalent to someone just flying around the earth for like a year.
Yeah, so this is like a pilgrim passport. So it's it's for this, walking. But there's 4. There's it's called the Credencial del Peregrino. So it's from the Cathedral of Santiago.
Nice.
And there's 8 stamps on the first 2 per page. I mean, there's maybe not 149, but there must be about 139, maybe something like that. Per
passport or on total?
In total, because I think I had 10 days off, so I think there's 2 I didn't get, 4 I didn't get. Yeah, about 130 something.
That's wicked, man.
Yeah, and then this holds my 2 diplomas that I got in Santiago. So when you get if you walk more than 100 kilometers, and people can watch my video. I think it's easier or better. I have pictures of them there, or you can send pictures to you.
Yeah. Give us a shout out as well to the to the channels where people can head over.
So YouTube is just the best to see all the videos, and I'll post these last 2 days here today or tomorrow. And the credential actually is written in Latin, and then it's just a proof that you walked from somewhere, which has to be more than 100 kilometers to Santiago. And then actually when I walked in, I was number 5 that day, or 4 or 5. And then I saw that you could buy one also. The first one is for free. And then I saw you could get one for 3 euros. And I was like, what's this? And that you could get your distance on. I'm like, well, I need that. So I got an additional one, and she calculated that it was 3,360 to Santiago from where I walked, which was like 27 less or more than I had calculated myself. So I was pretty close. And then out here in Finisterre or in Machia, you can actually get one for the end of the world. So I'm going to get that here while I'm here. So. It's not a big deal. It's just memories, But it's
it's still like those memories, man. It's even just saying that, like 3,350.
That was to Santiago, yeah. So I mean,
that's
all in total,
so nuts, man.
But I actually think I calculated quite a bit wrong in Germany, because I just calculated like maybe not my distance walked, but like just the distance from place to place. Like in a straight line. So
that's still.
I think I've walked quite a bit more, actually. I think without, I don't know, maybe 100 more, something. But it's just really beautiful. Like I would recommend anybody to at least sometime in their life walk the Camino, and if not, then at least walk far or walk every day. So I just think it's one of those magical things that it's just really special, and it gets you back to humanity, to yourself. I mean, it gives you all you need. I think at least it just. Of course, it's not for everybody, maybe, but you need to feel called, I guess, to some degree as well. You need to feel that motivation, or that inspires you. Of course, that way you'll get most out of it. So, but it's special, and I'm just happy I got pulled out in this adventure and found out that I actually love doing this and love this kind of adventure, and I know that a lot of the things I actually love in addition to that can come out of this as well, like writing and whatnot. So,
and you found something. You found a calling at the end.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like you found your passion, like you found something that you did not know you were searching for when you left.
Yeah, and
or something that was a bit different maybe because when we had the first chat, it was just about I just need to walk. I just need to.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, it was very different. Yeah, and the last month or two, it just became more and more clear that I actually love this. I mean, every morning almost, I was trickling in my stomach. Yes, I'm walking again towards this whatever thing, and that has been really very interesting. Yeah, even the mornings where it's been a bit heavier, and it was like, okay, I'm walking because it helps. Like some days you just don't feel good, and walking is just magic. Like whatever it is, whatever's happening, whatever is just special. Yeah, and I hope as many people as possible can get that experience. So, yeah,
fantastic.
So I don't know what else. Yeah.
Well, hopefully your videos and your book will inspire them when that day comes, man.
Yeah, I mean, until then, I think it'll take a long time to write this book, to be honest. But hopefully, I mean, I haven't started, but that has to come with some kind of flow. But I definitely want to begin. But until then, who knows? Yeah, maybe there'll probably be new adventures or new things happening, and I will continue to share.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, my friend. I'll look forward to checking in with you in a couple of weeks or whenever the time is right.
Yeah,
but
that sounds good.
Congratulations again, buddy. Massive, incredible effort, man. And enjoy your week off. And hang out with your pilgrims and enjoy the nice weather and the beautiful town.
Thanks. Yeah, and for everybody who wants to relive the experience, I mean, just go to my YouTube channel. It's just the best place. You can find my Facebook links and whatnot in the descriptions. So I think it's a really good guide too. Like I think for people who actually want to walk, I think it's good to just watch that. Not to be egotistical or anything. I think it gives you an impression of what it actually means to be a pilgrim. So I think it's good. There's not much talk with other people. It's been really difficult to do. I mean, when I talk to somebody, I don't want to put a camera in their face, So it's been a bit trying to be respectful as well. So I've kept it mostly to myself. So yeah. But
just one final question here: Are you stopping your documentary now? Now you're there, like we're not walking anymore? Are you planning on taking some time off or not doing YouTube?
I think what I will do maybe is to just share reflections, maybe just ramble for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something.
Maybe chat to some of the other pilgrim friends that would be there and ask if you could do maybe do a couple of chats with them about their experience.
Yeah, it's really something that I should do, but I also feel that maybe this is not the journey to do it on. I'm not sure why. Yeah, but I know that it's really important to do that kind of stuff. But I think for now, yes, that is an option. But then I also think that just share some reflections and we'll see. And if I walk somewhere, I will document that.
Fantastic. Awesome, Gideon.
Cool.
Fantastic, man. I'll chat to you soon, buddy.
Alrighty. Be well, guys.
Cheers, man.
Ciao.
Thanks so much for tuning in or listening along to the show. If you like the show, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to my social channels. It doesn't cost you anything, but it greatly helps me to build my networks and my chances of getting sponsors to keep this show running. If you want to take it to the next level, please head over to patreon.com/Stefan Helhammer and become a patron by joining the exclusive community there. You can start from as little as $3 per month. And for just a little extra, you get access to some fantastic features, outtakes, behind the scenes stuff, and much, much more. That's less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month. And that way you can help me build better content. I can devote more time to find awesome guests and just generally just keep everything flowing. If you want to be on the show or subscribe to my mailing list, send an email to Stephen@helhammer.com, and that is HEL hammer.com. That way I can start sending you exclusive invites, random stuff, and messages that, who knows, you might enjoy. So that's it. Have a rocking day ahead, guys, and I will see you on the live stream or in your headphones very soon. Take it easy.